are back. RG, DFS Tournament Takes Podcast, Week 4 edition, here with my usual co-host, Bobby Gomes at Bobby Gomes DFS, and we have a fill-in for Noto today after a beer maker who then went on to win, I think, $50K right after his show with us. Hopefully, Brit can do the same. We've got Brit Devine filling in. Thank you guys for joining me. What's going on? You guys ready to talk some Week 4? Brit, first, as the honored guest, let you go first. How you doing, man?
Yeah, beer won $50K. I mean, I definitely want to keep that rolling as the guest host. That sounds great to me. But yeah, it's had a long night, a long morning with kids. I think I said pre-show right when all of us started here at RotoGrinders. None of us have kids. We all got them now. So life's a lot different than it was for all of us, 2 or 3 years ago. So it was. I did the whole NBA injury report: questionable, doubtful, in, out, back to in. Glad to be on today, and happy to be on with Chris and Bobby.
Bobby, my man, first off, take the hat off, show the new do. Woo!
It's tough sledding. I don't know. My kid got a haircut. I got a haircut. I just shaved it all off. He got like a boys regular. So yeah, I don't know. We're ready. We're ready for Week 4. Finished off the week strong last week. Had a couple good showdown slates, so ready to dive in here. This slate looks absolutely terrible, just from like a game standpoint. There's nothing that I find enjoyable. Like none of the matchups are great. The totals are all nothing extremely high. Seems like it's going to be a running back heavy week. Interested to kind of get your guys' takes as we hop in here.
Yeah, we're going to do a lot of figuring out on the show because there's a lot of injury news still up in the air. This is by far the most injury news we've had. It may be the most I can remember this early in the season in NFL. First off, I want to say what's up to the chat. Jug Nation, the Don, a lot of the same guys here. Hammer, what's up, guy? So let's. I'm going to take care of a little housekeeping, then we'll do our usual thing here. But yeah, I finally had a good week. Had a bad week on DraftKings, but I didn't play as heavy. And then I had a really good week on Yahoo. So all the guys who come in and troll me for my Galaxy Brain first week can all eat it.
No Marvin Harrison. No, you had to play Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, I didn't play Marvin Harrison.
I watched last week's show to prepare for this. I heard.
But all right, little housekeeping. Splash Sports. Been saying this all along. We've done a lot with Splash Sports. The revival is in full swing. Dive into another thrilling week of contests at Splash Sports, including the 10K RG Survivor Revival, along with a 5K Fantasy Tiers and a 5K Against the Spread Pick'em. Now available in 34 states. Splash State dominates the peer-to-peer fantasy and betting scene. So head on over to splashsports.com/RotoGrinders and challenge many of the RotoGrinders experts in the community over there. Use promo code ROTO10 for a $10 credit after you entered your first contest. Again, ROTO10 for a $10 credit after you entered your first contest. Also, we'll do the RG Listener League. Love seeing everybody in it. Got to jump back in. We're holding our own in there, but it's not saying a lot. We haven't had any top finishes, but we aren't last, and that was the goal. But RG NFL Listener League, shout out to JMO Dab 2232 who took it down last week, the Week 3 Listener League. Don't forget to join on the fun each week. In the Listener League, you get to play alongside all of us. Everyone else who does a show, they all have a lineup representing them as well. So, yeah, jump in there. And every week you get a chance to compete for first and win yourself a month of RG Combo Premium. That's not cheap anymore. I was just looking at the prices, couldn't believe it. How much it's worth it. We've grown so much. We have so many value-added tools, everything, from optimizer, projections, you can use the blitz. There's so many different things in there, all the different sports. So yeah, get in there. All right. The Listener League contest will be in the description from the show, so you can use the link there. All right. Enough talking about that, ad reads. 12 games, tons of injury news. I'm just going to go first off. I'm just going to say the high total games that look the juiciest from a totals perspective. One, it's Washington at Arizona, 3.5 point. Arizona is favored by 49 point total. Cincy minus 4.5. They have been throwing the ball like crazy against the revival and revenge spot for Carolina's quarterback Andy Dalton is back in our lives. I mean, every year it's like Flacco, Dalton, like somebody surprises us and comes back. But man, it was great. I feel bad for Bryce Young though. I'll tell you, it's not a good look when Andy Dalton comes in and is like, I can make this offense hum, no problem. 47.5 point total there. Then we got the Jags, who have been atrocious, and I'll spoil it. The right now, I think, is the blitz optimal QB, Trevor Lawrence. Little
I was looking at that pre-show.
I was saying, Cardi, come on, you sleep, get up in there and fix the protection and make it not my lineup. But anyway,
I don't want to throw shade on the projection updates, but we gotta speed them up a little bit. Cardi,
AI, they're working with AI. I guarantee
he's working with AI.
I guarantee
they're fantastic. I'm not saying they're not the best.
No, I guarantee you he'll have it like incredible soon because of AI.
I think they're good regardless. I'm just saying, like, they're what I use. Like, I'm a company man, and yeah, pretty much not using anything else. But I don't know. I'm waiting Showdown. They updated 8 and then don't update again until 7.
So anyway, Jacksonville at Houston, 6.5 points. Favorite Houston, 44.5 point total. Another 43.5 point totals. Minnesota at Green Bay are really scraping here. Green Bay minus 2.5. Then we've got a bunch of games that still have good spots. The total on the Saints game is much different after, everybody and their mother told me, play Derek Carr. Beer said, play Derek Carr. Bobby said, play Derek Carr. Kirk ended up playing Derek Carr and losing money. So I'm not happy with that. We gotta make
I said play Derek Carr on our team for the thing or whatever.
We did. And then I put him in mine too. Anyway, whatever. And then we remembered it's still Derek Carr. Anyways, Dorman snaps and pace. Have Pitt at the Colts as a game for a high-paced game. The Rams at the Bears and Cleveland at the Raiders with a honorable mention, Washington at Arizona. Cardi has the same games. The Rams in Chicago for the most plays. Then the Rams, the Cleveland at the Raiders. Then Pitt at Indy and an honorable mention to New Orleans at Atlanta. But big picture overview, guys. First look, how's this looking to you? I'll let you start, Bobby.
Yeah, I already kind of gave my take. I think it's a pretty gross slate. Running back's probably going to be your flex position. I don't think that it's going to be a wide receiver flex slate. Ton of really good running backs. Ownership's going to spread out. And the games aren't great. Other than that Arizona-Washington game, the Cincy and Carolina, nothing really sticking out to me from like a total pace perspective. That's pretty much it. That's all I got so far.
What about you, Britt?
I think I'm disagreeing with some projected ownership. Not saying the projected ownership's bad. I'm just saying, like, why is Jordan Mason the highest owned running back by like miles this week? This makes no sense to me. I don't think that sticks by the time Sunday comes around. The receivers look reasonably okay at the top. There's no, from all those years I did the millionaire maker reports before kids and I had a lot more time to do stuff. You want to fade the trashy wide receivers that end up high owned. That's not really happening basically at all this year. So I like a lot of the receivers, but I think the running back ownership, like Bobby said, it's 3 weeks. It's the new NFL, or it's 3 running backs for sure. It's the new NFL. But Jordan Mason I won't say it's not like a committee with Garendo, but they want to get Garendo the ball. They made that clear last week. He got 5 carries. You've got Kittle coming back. You've got Deebo Samuel coming back. And I know there's a lot more mouths to feed than just Jordan Mason in this game. I don't know if he should be the highest owned running back by like a landslide. And some of these other guys getting Saquon Barkley at 2-to-1 ownership under Breece Hall. Breece Hall, not saying he's a committee back, but he has direct competition with Braylon Allen looking good, where there ain't nobody taking that ball out of Saquon Barkley's hand. So I don't know. I guess
except Jalen Hurts.
I understand that, but I don't know. I'm a little confused at why people are on. So why no one wants to play Alvin Kamara when they want to run the ball like 40 times a game? That's why this total in the Saints game so low. They don't want to give the ball to Jamal Williams. They know he's garbage. So Kamara is going to touch the ball possibly 30 times in this game. No one wants to play him. I'm a little confused at the ownership overall.
Isn't Kamara banged up?
Sure. Yeah, but you don't want to give Jamal Williams the football, right? This is until Kamara is out of that game or something's happening, they are not giving Jamal Williams the football.
Yeah, it's so funny how he became, we just chase week to week with ownership. But I think running back ownership, to me, from looking around some of the other in the industry, I like to gather it all. I think it's going to be fairly spread out. Like, it seems like everybody's going to be like the main guys are going to be anywhere from 15 to 25%. And it's going to be all in there. So you can probably just pick and choose which ones you like the best. Jordan Mason will probably be up there. But there's plenty of options. We got so much injury. Like, it's gross this week though too. It's like Najee Harris, Brian Robinson. They're going to be the other chalk. Then they're like the little upside chalky guys are going to be Bijan, Kyron Williams, and Breece Hall. And then there's Chuba Hubbard. There's for a value play, but like, Jaylen Warren being out, obviously helps Najee. Unfortunately, you're going to get like 4 yards a carry. It's like, how many times can they feed him? And can you rack up 4 yards a carry before you have a good game? So he's gross, but like, he's going to see so many touches. Brian Robinson, kind of the same thing. And also he's got a QB that might vulture him in the RPOs, but very interesting. So we do always start there. I'm just going to run down the injuries quickly. So like, this slate is all about injuries. So questionable: Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, Deebo Samuel, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen, Chris Olave, Alvin Kamara, but looking like he's going to go. Joe Mixon looking like he's going to go, but coming off a high ankle sprain. That's very iffy. Deontay Johnson, Bucky Irving, Gabe Davis. So we got a lot of people this week. Although Gabe's not on the slate, right? It doesn't matter. Or is he? Yeah, he is.
What's the most like, what do we like? Jordan Love. I don't know if you saw right before the show is like, they're prepared to use Jordan Love. If he starts, they're also going to have a package of Malik Willis to keep them on their toes. Like, they're just,
are they though?
I don't think. I think they're just playing. I don't know if Jordan Love, this is going to be something we're going to find out overnight or possibly not until 90 minutes before the game starts from the Packers. This Olave thing is a little interesting. What are we, AJ Brown? If AJ Brown plays, he might be like the tournament wide receiver. His ownership's at like 1 or 2%. It'll go up if he's confirmed in. But like, Bobby, what are you looking at in terms of like, what's the biggest injury situation we have to go on? Because like Chris said, we haven't had this yet. So many players get hurt in the middle of the week now. Is this like a new thing we got to worry about?
Yeah, so for me, you mentioned Jordan Love. Like, my favorite tournament position, I don't want to skip around. My favorite tournament play on the slate is probably Jaden Reed at the wide receiver position. So I do think that that's an injury that you have to take into consideration. Also, the A.J. Brown situation. Just thinking who else kind of makes sense. There's a lot of offensive and defensive line stuff that I think is important. That you want to stay up on. Tank Dell being out for Houston. I think that basically kicks Diggs outside, and they'll probably rotate between Robert Woods, Mechie, and Hutchinson in the slot, which I think is more beneficial for Diggs. But the guy I think it kind of opens up from a slot perspective for Houston would be a tight end like Dalton Schultz. These are just like ancillary stuff that when we go by position, we'll kind of hit on. But yeah,
so that was a huge list of questionable guys I gave. Now, I didn't even give the out guys. So Devontae Adams out. That's huge, right? So now we've got a cheap, potentially number 2 or number 3 receiver. With Trey Tucker. Devontae Smith out. Trey McBride out, giving us cheap chalk Elijah Higgins at tight end position. I mentioned it earlier with Jaylen Warren out, Cooper Kupp still out. You said Tank Dell, Dameon Pierce out, Evan Ingram, Thielen, and Njoku. So man, we've got a ton of injury situations, and we don't have any like standout smash plays in my opinion. I think there's like like a lot of the top plays. There's like a bunch of pivots. At least where we start at the running back position. That's what we always do. We start at the running back and we go to QB paired up with wide receiver, tight end, and then Bobby gives the defensive segment. And then we'll build a lineup at the end. But so let's go right into it at the running back position. We already started alluding to some of these guys. Chalk is going to be Jordan Mason, Najee Harris, Brian Robinson. Bijan is going to be right there. Kyron's going to be right there. Brees Hall's going to be right there. And then we've got guys like Britt said, like Saquon Barkley, got Aaron Jones in a big revenge spot. James Conner, Kieran Williams. So there's a lot of options. So what do you like the most, Bobby?
Yeah, for me, I think it's very spread out. Guys, I'm getting to a good bit over like where their median projection is currently. Chuba Hubbard's currently my highest own. He's at 5,700. Versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati's just been pretty much dreadful versus the run and pass all season. I think he's game script. He's independent of game script. Chuba can get it done. He does it in the passing game, does it on the ground. Seems as though the coaching staff has a lot of faith in him as well. So I like Chuba. From there, Brian Robinson, I think more people are going to go to like the Masons and like Najee Harris. Brian Robinson is more of a GPP play to me than a cash guy. That totals moved. He's going up against Arizona. He's utilizing he's another game script dependent running back. Although people don't think that, they think that he's not catching the ball out of the backfield, which he's done at a very efficient clip.
Eckler being out, we got to mention too.
Yeah, Eckler's out. So yeah, I like Brian Robinson a good bit. Those are like the two guys in the mid-range that really stand out. And then going up, like Kyron versus Chicago, I like getting all the usage. He's getting all within like the goal line. He's their only option at this point. So I think he's my favorite out of the studs. Then I'd say Brees. I like Brees a good bit versus Denver. Bijan's in the mix at 7,400 versus New Orleans. I don't think if people are looking for a Bijan like Saquon Barkley type game last week, that makes me. It depends on where Bijan's ownership gets. Like if he's going to become extremely chalky, I'll just play Saquon versus Tampa Bay. I'm playing Saquon anyways, but I'll just bump Saquon ahead of Bijan Robinson in terms of my ownership. And then Aaron Jones, I think, is the direct pivot off of Jordan Mason chalk. But I think Britt makes a good point. Like when we turn the cards over, it could be Aaron Jones that's more chalky than Jordan Mason when it's all said and done. I think you could throw James Conner in the mix as the last guy in for my GBP pool as well. That's pretty much it.
Britt, you've already alluded to your Saquon take. How are you approaching our running back position?
Yeah, so like Saquon is clear. I would much rather, especially if AJ Brown's out. I guess, would you rather have AJ Brown in or out to play Saquon? Let me ask.
I think he's a good play either way. I see more people gravitating towards Bijan, and I think Saquon's just the better play.
Like, how do you not want to play Saquon? He's done it. He's done it every week. He has the juice. He's getting the ball. He's catching, except for the couple of drops he has. I mean, who else are they going to run this offense through? Dallas Goedert, who, I mean, he had the big game, but like two of that was on plays where guys got like pick plays where the Saints just fell down, right?
Hey, so I caught that game. That was my big play last week.
Yeah, so he's not going to go 10 for 11 and have all that happen again, right? So you're going to get Goddard targeted, but this offense is going to run through Saquon Barkley. Make no doubt about it. Even if AJ Brown's in, they're gonna have to do that because maybe AJ Brown is 100%. I just don't understand how he's sitting there at 11%. He's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like the 10th, 11th projected highest own on RotoGrinders currently right now. I didn't bring up what the Blitz has it at, but he's someone that's good. And I want to go back to Bobby. He's on Chuba. Do you have Chuba over Najee? If you have to basically pick between those, you can throw Zach Moss into the equation too. How would you rank those three, Bobby?
Yeah, I have Chuba ahead of both, just because I think both can be eliminated if the game script goes the other way, where Chuba, I think he's the safest of the three. And then in terms of Zach Moss, I think Chase Brown sees more work going forward. He just seems like the more explosive back. And I think snaps have been trending that way. I can check for sure. But yeah, I prefer a guy like I tagged Moss. I get it. Oh, Matic tagged Moss. I thought I did for some reason. Yeah.
Yeah, Moss is interesting because of the matchup.
I'll tell you.
But
So the total in that game, I have going like way over. That was one of my scores and odds picks of the week. That the 47 is a lie. That's going like 50 plus. That might be your highest scoring game of the week here. There's no defense in that game. Both offenses seem to be clicking. These Dalton comes right out, right? Because these new quarterbacks can't handle the NFL, and Dalton's just like, yeah, this cover two, it's no problem, guys. This is how you do it. And he just shreds it. And now he's got the revenge game. That game's going to be all offense back and forth. So I like that one from a betting perspective. So I would take Chuba too, like Bobby has, over Najee Harris. I'm looking at the blitz, and the blitz was clearly tell you, I believe, to play Najee in that equation. I would flip it over. I think I prefer Hubbard personally myself in that one. And I'm just like, sure, I'm going to have, so how I play NFL, I make 3 tournament teams, hand build, and do the MME, and I throw them in a lot of different tournaments, just the same ones. I don't foresee myself having a Jordan Mason on my team when I can get a Saquon, I can get a Kamara, I can get, just looking at some of the ownership, a Bijan, I can get a James Conner, right? Everybody's going to be playing the passing game in that one. Connor's Connor's going to have ownership, but that's a way to capture some touchdowns, knock out the Kyler Murray teams. If it goes awry in the passing game on that one, I understand Brian Robinson, but I mean,
I agree with every running back you've hit on and pretty much every point you've made except the Kamara situation. I think New Orleans is out 2 offensive linemen.
What if Olavi's out? I don't know. That's just an interesting. I got really screwed. I had a huge bet on scores and odds on the Saints, but I did a week ahead. Then they lose. Then they get injured during the week and possibly lose Olave. I don't know. I like Kamara. That's going to be a personal stand.
I don't. You know what? I'm usually on a fade on him total too. But if Olave is out, I mean, what else are they going to do?
Yeah,
like Shaheed is not a volume pass catcher. Derek Carr is someone who gets scared from any sort of offensive line problems. Any pressure that's coming through, he can't deal with it well. So he's going to have no choice. Then he may just rack up target after target, assuming he's healthy though too. Now, Bobby, I loved your Zach Moss call. TJ's on it too. It sounds like I see in chat, because we just got to look at Carolina on the other side. So the problem is it's a passing offense, right? But the matchup screams run. Carolina's given up. They're like top 5 in yards allowed, and they've given up 4 touchdowns already to opposing running backs. Moss got that late touchdown in their last game, but I could see that game. I mean, I could see that working out. I could also see that being like bombing, where you're like, why did I play a running back on a passing offense? So
I think you should be playing Chase Brown. That's my favorite back from that. I think Zach Moss is fine. I'm just saying, if you're picking a back from Cincinnati, I think it should be Brown.
That's even more interesting. Spicy.
If Mixon suits up, is anyone interested in him from a tournament perspective?
No.
Not on a high ankle sprain. He's older too. I just don't see it. I mean,
not even like as a ultimate leverage play off that passing game there that everyone's going to be on. Nobody.
I'll probably lose. I get it.
I'm not going to be there.
All right. I'm not saying I am. I'm posing the question.
I would rather play Schultz as the leverage off of Diggs.
Right.
And
I get it. That makes sense.
All right. What about some other? Let's try to find some lower owned guys here. Jerome Ford. I mean, with this game, could just be disgusting, right? Without Devontae Adams, Jerome Ford, Cleveland back, going to get a bunch of touches, 5,700. I could see that working. I don't know what to make of this huge line drop, and that's because of Herbert, obviously. But someone like Dobbins against KC, I don't know. Dobbins is electric. I can't believe that the Cowboys decided to sign Zeke over Dobbins. Anyways, he's there. Somebody that could go off, I think. I mean, you guys don't get excited at Aaron Jones' revenge. when he
I
thought
do.
when they told him they were signing him?
I like Aaron Jones' revenge. I think I think Aaron Jones is a good play this week.
Yeah, I'm in on Aaron Jones too. He'll make a a tournament team, maybe even two of mine.
So that's why I'm not getting to Mixon as much, because there's so much opportunity cost at running back. I feel like I don't need Mixon first week back from injury to take that chance on them. Maybe I should rethink that a little more, Britt, but that's why I prefer getting to Schultz, where tight end's super weak this week.
Anyone doing what's Roshan Johnson? Was he 4,100? I think saw someone in chat. Gonna get an extended look in the backfield.
Well, he looks better.
Yeah.
The thing is, they still have two other running backs there that are both likely ahead of him on the goal line.
Yeah.
You're playing Russian roulette on the goal line.
He's
fine at 150, but if I was playing anything less than a lotto, I wouldn't be playing him on three mans or single.
There's like you said, the opportunity. There's so many guys that you can project for at least 20 touches and work in the passing game this week. That this is not a week to get cute at running back play.
Yeah, you don't have to punt it. There's no reason to punt it.
No.
I know it's 4,100, but this isn't the slate where you need to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually like Najee Harris a lot because I like guys who fall into the end zone, and they'll continuously do that with him. He got the sign was on the wall. Like when Warren went down, he played 83% of the snaps. So he was there for passing plays too as well. Obviously you worry about Fields a little bit, but I think he's just going to see a monster workload. I'm a little bit more scared of, even though it's the same situation, with Fields and Najee, I'm a little more scared between Brian Robinson and the whole situation with Jaden Daniels, vulturing touchdowns now. So even though it's the same situation, I feel better with Najee's workload. But you guys have a strong opinion on one versus the other?
I'm fine with Najee. It's just like you said it when you first mentioned him at the top of the show.
4 yards of play.
What's his actual ceiling, right? In tournaments, what's his actual ceiling?
If he falls in the end zone twice, pretty good.
At 5,600, I mean, he's certainly not a bad play. I like Bobby. I would play Chuba over him. Not 10 out of 10 times, but certainly Chuba would be my favorite running back for sure. You do get a lot more snaps against Indianapolis. It is inside. I understand why the blitz is putting him over it, right? Because all those things. You get the boom bust nature of the Colts offense, right? It's either you're 3 and out because Anthony Richardson can't complete a 5-yard out 2 times in a row, or he misses a 3rd and 15, 40-yard deep pass, right? So there's going to be extra play volume this week for the Steelers, particularly. That's the elevated plays that you were talking about. I don't think it's really on the Colts side. It's going to be Pittsburgh getting the uptick here, so I know why the projections are boosting him. I don't know. I think they just lost. They just lost a guard who he was doubtful. They ruled him out earlier. It's not like the offensive line's great. Baltimore, you can run it pretty easily on the Colts here. I just prefer Chuba. There isn't really anybody. I'm looking on DraftKings. I wouldn't play Ford. Moss. You've got Rashad White. Is he? He'll get 7 catches and then run for 1.7 yards per carry.
Bucky's working in there for White. I wouldn't touch White.
Yeah. Well, Bucky's on the.
Oh, Bucky's out.
Yeah, wait, he's questionable.
He's questionable. If Bucky's in, there's not a chance I'm going to even look at.
Shout out to one of my best friends named Bucky, by the way.
There's just not a lot below the Chuba and Najee that I'm really interested in basically at all. That's it. So I would definitely choose Hubbard. And then if you go up, you're up, to the Brian Robinson, Zach Moss tier before you get up to a really sort of log jammed above Aaron Jones and above, where that's the Aaron Jones and above tier just looks. I mean, it's so phenomenal. Maybe my lineups will look a little bit different. Maybe I'll have to go down at wide receiver compared to what some of the field is doing. But these high end running backs this week just look so juicy to me. I'm willing to not play both Chuba and Najee in the same lineup, maybe use one of them and get one or even two of the really higher priced running backs in there and just, collect all those PPR scam points that the kids talk about.
Yeah. All right. So, the ups, like the Brees Halls, the upside for the top, the more expensive guys that aren't as chalky is certainly there. That could definitely be the path this week. And that's Kieran, Bijan, Kamara, Saquon. So I like what you're thinking, Brett. All right. Let's move it on over to the QB position, unless you guys have any last running back takes you want to get off your chest.
I'm all set.
All right. QB. We're going to have some chalk based on some of these games. Jaden Daniels looks good. Is Washington good? Is this all they needed? He doesn't have many weapons. He does have his legs as massive weapons. Terry McLaurin, he threw a nice deep ball to him, and that was pretty sick. Everybody playing Brian Robinson, it could be absolutely Jaden that gets all the goal line touchdowns. Kyler Murray. So this is kind of the theme from rushing quarterbacks. So Kyler Murray, probably the next most owned. Justin Fields. Those are your three runners. Then you can put a star next to Hurts. And then from passing QBs, Joe Burrow, CJ Stroud look like they're leading the way. I'll let you start, Britt, this time. Who's your favorite play at quarterback this week, or who are you going to be focusing on and on those three lineups?
Well, I'll answer your question. Is Jaden Daniels good? I think that's clearly yes. Their team hasn't punted.
I mean, he's good. Is Washington good?
I think they're good for fantasy for us. On the offensive players, I think are good, and then you can play the opposing offense against them, and we have that in a dome in Arizona this week. How do you not want parts of this game this week, right? So, I guess I'm a little. Answer me this, right? Kyler Murray, 14.5% on. I go look at Marvin Harrison, and it's like sub 10%. How does that work? I go look at Jaden Daniels, and I don't see Terry McLaurin high up on. Like, what's going on? Can someone explain to me what are these lines? How is Jaden Daniels? I understand a little bit because they're running quarterbacks, and I understand it's 2024 NFL DFS. But how are these guys? How are the receivers not going to be up towards the top of towards the Terry McLaurin projected 8.74 ownership? If I go find Marvin Harrison Jr.,
it's going to be Elijah Higgins.
Yeah, but come on, right?
But it doesn't matter.
Higgins bringing you to the top of your contest this week?
No, but that's the easiest double stack is just take any. Because normally that if we had McBride, I mean everyone's going to have Kyler and Higgins together, but it's going to be double stack.
And with Daniels, it's going to be Ertz. So they're undercutting.
Is Ertz ain't bringing you nowhere, right? I don't understand.
No, but that's what the optimizer's doing. It's just directing you to those guys.
I understand that. I'm going to disagree with doing it that way. I disagree with doing it that way as well. Yeah. I would, Daniels to McLaurin, Daniels to Noah Brown. That's where it's going in that offense, right? I want Noah Brown props. Go hammer those, whatever the over is. It's not high enough. He's ascending in that offense. I think he's a nice, reasonable, cheap play on that one if you're trying to stack. Murray, you're playing Marvin Harrison in this game.
McLaurin is like the easiest play ever. He's still at 5,800.
Yeah, I like McLaurin. So I'm a little. I don't know. I don't like that he generally I think they moved him around a little bit more last week, but it's still, hey, Terry, go out on the left side of the field. Run routes, somewhat predictable.
Well, he nailed the deep ball, so that's got to be there for confidence, right?
Yeah,
and that's all Terry's wanted, and screaming about being used. And
that's the obvious stacking partner is going to be Terry
obvious.
If you're going to double stack, I would absolutely not play Zach Ertz and play Noah Brown over that. It would be what I would suggest if you're going to play a second Washington receiver. I don't think you need to do it. I think you could just pick one, generally McLaurin. Then I would go to Noah Brown. And if you're desperate just to have a stack at a tight end, maybe Zach Ertz. But I'm not a Zach Ertz trying to win me a large field tournament type of player. That seems like a good way to finish 45th, not first. 45th is fine. but I'd be trying to win the tournament. I do like Kyler. That's inside. I see Burrow creeping up and Stroud. I agree with that. I'm just how is Deontay Johnson 30% and Andy Dalton's 3%? This makes no sense to me. So which side of this is wrong, guys? Because
it's just too easy to play one of these running quarterbacks and then just play like Deontay Johnson.
Yeah. So here's my thought. So I either want a running quarterback or I want the cheapest. I want cheap pocket quarterbacks, right? There's no reason to. I like Joe Burrow. I expect Joe Burrow to have a good game, but I expect Andy Dalton to also go nuclear once again in this game because neither one of these teams can play any defense. And then you get Deontay Johnson in there too, and then you can. I think the separation of Burrow and a guy like Andy Dalton. I'm sure the projections have it pretty wide. I gotta pay the bingo card winners who had nuclear Andy Dalton in 2024 on their bingo card. That was just said. Well, you get Canales, right? The quarterback whisperer. It's very obvious. Bryce Young on his tippy toes ain't it. That ain't working. You put in a veteran quarterback with good receivers, with a great offensive line against the defense that can't rush the quarterback at all. Andy Dalton is going to light it up this week. Like right. Andy's cheap and nobody's using.
I like it. I'm with you. And like quarterback ownership doesn't even really matter in general, except when you get down to like 2%. When you're talking like guys under 5%, that's where it really matters. But like in general, no one's going to be too chalky to play. But Bobby, what are your favorites?
I'm right with Brit, Burrow and Dalton. They're going to be my two favorite. I think the chalky guys are obviously going to be Jaden and Kyler, and they make sense for smaller field stuff. But I think in tournaments, I really like Joe Burrow. I think he looked really good on an island game the other night. And yeah, Andy Dalton, they showed him the too high, and he carved it up. He's going to use Deontay Johnson. A lot of his ancillary pieces are going to be chalky, just as individual pieces. Xavier Legette, Mingo, Tremble. But he's not going to be, and I don't want to play any of those guys. I'd rather just play him and Deontay, call it a day, run it back with Chase.
How high on Kyler Murray are you?
He's my third highest own. I definitely think Britt has the right approach too. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. He's the guy you want to get to him with. In smaller field stuff, a lot of people just single stack him with Higgins. That's fine. I think I'm going to pay up at tight end in tournaments. So getting to Marvin Harrison makes a good bit of sense.
Yeah, I like Kyler to Marvin, and then tight end instead of Higgins, you have Brenton Strange. There's Tommy Tremble. There's a lot of cheap dart throw tight ends. They all stink. They all end up stinking at the end of the week anyway. So I don't know. Is Higgins the chalk at tight end? We'll get to tight end in a little bit, but is that what everybody's doing? Like I might straight up take Brenton Strange.
I also think another way to beat Higgins is to play Wilson. Michael Wilson. I think he's interesting.
The run game.
Get all the touchdowns. Yeah, Michael Wilson. I like Michael Wilson.
I like Connor in there. You just get all the touchdowns in that offense.
Yeah. I would argue not to play Higgins at all. Maybe at the end of the week that burns me, but I'm not playing the cheap tight end.
Wow. Yeah, but he was an ex-wide receiver. Like this guy has game and has a big opportunity. So I get it. Dallas Goedert is going to be the most owned, I think.
I think it's going to end up being Higgins.
Yeah, I think so too. But like from the pivot standpoint, like Dallas Goedert and then Bowers. Like
I shouldn't say full fade him, but I think that it's definitely somewhere you can be with the field or under the field on Higgins. You could definitely, obviously, he's the punt tight end. You could X him too.
If AJ Brown's in, do you think Goddard ends up the highest owned?
No, not a chance.
Probably not. No.
If Brown's out, I absolutely have go nuts with Dallas Goedert this week. Right, there's literally no one else to throw to, other than the Saquon Barkley.
But it's just so funny to me that like nobody wanted to play him last week.
He had a bad couple of weeks, man.
Devontae Smith. He didn't like really break out in that game until Devontae Smith went out with a concussion, though. Correct. He didn't have like
he started off with a big play.
Oh, did he?
He had 2 big plays, but one was before the injury, one was after. And he didn't get in the end zone. It would have been nice if he got in the end zone. All right. Any other? We don't need to do any. I think we're all kind of on the same page.
I got a couple more here. So I want I want Brock Purdy stacks for sure. Get off of Mason, get the passing game. No question. Whoever's in there, fire up a Kittle stack, fire up a Debo stack. Do whatever you got to do. I'm not anti Jordan Mason, but that with Mason's going to be 30% or even 20%, and Purdy's going to be 2%. Why can't he do a Geno Smith and have himself a big game against New England? I think that's a pretty nice way to get a little different. And I'm still definitely Sam Darnold. I mentioned that a little below. I'm just not on. This isn't the Anthony Richardson experience week. Not into that. Not into Aaron Rodgers week this week with Surtain on Garrett Wilson. Not into if Olave plays. I think we can go back to Carr. I would be very reasonable actually looking to do that if Carr is no one's going to play any of that passing game. Maybe I'd knock down some of my Kamara love and switch to Derek Carr again. He did it the first 2 games, and just because he had one crappy week, now none of us want to do this in the Clint Kubiak offense after we were all foaming at the mouth for it. Would absolutely be looking to do something like that.
Baker, like no, okay. So the Eagles secondary has supposed to be their weakest spot. They've been pretty good. You've got like elite weapons with Godwin and Evans who can soak up everything. You guys love Saquon Barkley as a bring back, or potentially if AJ Brown's out, Goddard. I don't know. I think I could go back to no one wants to play. I mean, it's like literally we just change each week because of one game. But why not go back to Baker at this ownership?
I could certainly see that.
I think Baker's fine to Evans. Evans got a little squeaky wheel narrative there. Chris Godwin's been eating in the slot. He's top 3 receiver in terms of fantasy points through the first 3 weeks. So I don't mind Baker at all. I think Baker's a good call.
What are we doing with Jacksonville offense? Because you mentioned at the start, and I fired up the blitz again. And you can pass a little bit on Houston. Their defense, the yardage is a little low, but I think you can. I don't think they're playing too great here. I just think this Doug Peterson offense ain't it. This deep passing game. I mean, what are the Jaguars doing, guys? They're throwing deep against the league where you can't throw deep anymore.
I have a
they're playing man coverage on defense.
If there's a team that you can throw deep against, though, it's this Houston Texans team. And you're getting Kirk and you're getting Brian Thomas. I understand why the Blitz likes Lawrence now. Like I was thinking prior to the show, like, am I going to play Lawrence? I should boost its projection a little bit.
Because you don't have to. Just use the Blitz projections. You're going to get a ton of them.
Yeah, that's fine. So I can run back Nico. I can run back Diggs. No one in their right mind after seeing Lawrence on that island game wants to play him. I'm actually fine playing Lawrence this week.
I am too, but I'm also well aware that I could feel like, I mean, we remember last year I played Lawrence every freaking slate. Like I was always Lawrence. But I don't know. They just kind of stink right now. But I get it. It's now or never, right? Like that's the good thing.
Bottom. The only way they can go is up.
5,700.
This secondary should be a secondary that you can, like a guy like Brian Thomas can hurt this secondary. Stingley's been getting burned all year. Like, if everyone's going to go away from him, it might be time to buy low on the Jags. Get in there early. It's in a dome. It's in Houston. And then the run backs are simple. There's Diggs, Nico Collins. You can run back Mixon.
Or you like Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, there's a nice group. It's an interesting way to play a game that is like a tertiary game that we want to get to on the slate outside of the 2 big ones. It's an interesting way to play it, and a lot of people aren't going to play it anyways, and it's a differentiated way to play it. So, yeah, I like the Lawrence call a good bit, Brit. The other guy I wanted to talk about was Fields. Like, you made the case for Mason being chalk and him being the chalk that we can get away from in the passing game. Like George Pickens versus the Colts is the guy I want to play. I think it makes a ton of sense. You can play him with Fields.
Fields is good. The only problem is if Tomlin just runs this ball like a million times a game. But like, I think this stack is going to go absolutely nuclear at some point. It could be this week.
Yeah, this could be it. And like, I think Alec Pierce makes for a good run back on the other side. Like, he's cheap. Richardson's shown a lot of love in his way. I don't know. Maybe if this game shoots out, I don't love Najee. Like, I think the guy he leverages Najee. But you could be right, Kirkwood. Like, he could fall in the end zone twice. I think this has Pickens written all over it. In this game.
You just know that the Steelers, what they do. But like, but you got to like, so Fields' confidence, like that was like an issue maybe week 1. Like now he's solved that. Like, I think it's clear that I think the Bears I always thought the Bears should have stuck with him. I always thought Fields was good.
The Bears coaching is a very clear problem, right? So Tomlin and Arthur Smith, they've game planned and coached the sacks and the turnovers away from Justin Fields, and he's an accurate quarterback. He can throw the deep ball to Pickens, and it's very easy, Bobby. It's the only player you want. People play Pat Freiermuth and waste a couple of teams.
I think Freiermuth got a bunch of targets last year.
I know, but if you look at Arthur Smith, traditionally what he does to tight ends is he just makes them obsolete. So like, I'd rather just not play him and play Pickens.
The only lineup you would play if you're stacking, you could probably like if there's ever an upside offense week for the Pittsburgh offense, I think it's this one. Could you do a Fields with Najee and Pickens? And like I think with Arizona, right? You can play Kyler, you can play Connor and Marvin Harrison, and I think you get all the offense.
Yeah, you say that. I just don't think there's enough offense. I just don't think there's enough offense.
I tend to agree. I tend to agree on the Pittsburgh side on this one. So that's what I was trying to ask you guys. Do you think that's something that was workable, right? So I'm going to go back to Bobby, where if you're playing Fields, I think you could play him alone for the rushing upside, and maybe he throws a touchdown. Maybe it is to Freiermuth. Maybe it's not Pickens. But if you're going to stack, it's just Pickens, and that's it.
He hasn't broke a 16-yard run yet. Like, I would just trust.
Yeah, but that's going to happen.
It's going to happen. I'm just saying, like, playing him naked, I would just be stacking him with Pickens. He's gonna lock in on Pickens in this game. I guarantee.
Yeah. That's an easy stack.
That's all he does is he locks in on Pickens. It's in a dome. Yeah, he could play fast. He could play fast in the rushing yards too. Like, he's going to break the 16 yards. But what I'm saying is just get the extra upside and tag Pickens along there. That cold secondary, like, they're not covering anyone on the outside.
It's the obvious way to get off this Najee chalk, which is like, so this is a great leverage stack. So I agree, Bobby. I like it. I'm in. So maybe that will be our build a lineup this week. Keep that in our heads here. All right. Any others?
From a quarterback perspective,
yeah.
Like you could play the Stroud side of the. I think we already hit on it. The Jacksonville game. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
From receivers, I'm just taking a quick look. I think you can mix up your cheap receivers. What do we got? Trey Tucker. Oh, I did want to mention Caleb Williams this week. Which pick? Let's pretend Keenan Allen's back. Keenan Allen of 4,000 targets week 1. I don't know. This might be like a good. He's cheap. I think Roma Dunze had he had a huge week last week. Who would you want to play? DJ Moore in that offense? Which stacking partner would you want from him? I don't know if you need like two. The double stacks with the bring back, that's dead this year, right? It's just an NFL. But if you're going to pick one wide receiver to go out and go ham this week for the Bears,
it's not dead, Britt. That's the thing.
It is. I think eventually the scoring is going to come up, right? Because we're still like in the preseason, and I think we're finally starting to come out of it a little bit.
And they don't use their preseason players much. Like everyone holds out or like doesn't play.
I think
eventually we're going to get good performances.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, go ahead, Bobby.
My pushback with the double stack and the bring back is it's always been something that you could use, but it wasn't like a guarantee that you had to use it, even though when it was like super prevalent. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like a context thing, right? People just force it like 5 years ago for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, it used to be like, how much can you stick into your Kansas City?
Yeah, it was the worst. It was the worst thing possible. And then like there'd be like the absolute nerds of the industry would be forcing it down your throat, and you're like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna run it.
Well,
back.
It does when it's like
13
to like 40.
You know what I mean?
It doesn't make sense this year currently as it stands.
Correct.
But I
don't think it made sense. They were saying run back total implied team totals are like 15. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to run back every game. Like that didn't make sense. And that never made sense to me. You know, I care about team totals. If you don't have a team total that I think I'm going to pull points from, then why am I going to pull a double stack when I'm only going to get 2 touchdowns out of this game?
The team totals can lie like that. The lie of the 47 and the Bengals.
No, the people that were lying to you were the industry elites. That's who was lying to you. It was never a thing. It was a context thing. Yeah.
Deep receiver, deep stacks is what Bobby's been researching. Who are the guys? It was always like Papa Gates and like it was so out of hand at one point. How many guys can you get in? Anyways, someone said that we're gonna have best field goal kicker is next, which reminds me of how I did a cash out for the second time in my career, and stupidly, DraftKings was like when Aubrey was going into. I had the who the heck was it? Who did they just beat? Who did the Cowboys just beat?
Giants.
Yeah. I had the Giants +6. And when then Aubrey came out for that, I cashed out immediately on my bet, and then and I would have won. I was like, Aubrey's not missing a 40-yard field goal or whatever it was, but awful, stupid. So I learned my lesson. But anyways, all right, let's go over to wide receiver. We've already hit on a ton, but let's start with the chalk, which Deontay Johnson, who we all like. I mean, it's just volume with a quarterback who's willing to sling it to him or can actually sling it to him. Nico Collins. I love Rashee Rice. I don't care like if there's not much like is that what the huge worry is, that like the Chargers are just going to lay over? But I think that's going to make Rice's ownership go down, and he's a clear wide receiver 1 for Patrick Mahomes without a stout running game at this point. So I think he's just an easy play. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on Trey Tucker. I want to hear your guys' thoughts because it looks like some of these, like the cheaper guys, like Greg Dortch is going to get some ownership. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on Godwin. We've already heard about Marvin Harrison. I like that. No one's mentioned Mooney yet because we weren't stacking Kirk. We never mentioned Kirk Cousins. But anyways, who did I lead? Britt, it's your turn again. Who do you like at wide receiver?
Yeah, so like I'll flash back to what I said at the beginning. All the years doing that Millionaire Maker article, you want to fade the crappy high-owned wide receivers, right? That don't make a lot of sense to use, right? When someone gets pushed up from an injury, you know, when a wide receiver 3 becomes a wide receiver 1 for the week, those are the guys when they're at the very top of the ownership list that generally fail from years and years of doing that. I don't really see that this week from the high owned. I see guys that want to use at the high owned wide receivers. I see Deontay Johnson, a huge target monster. I see it's not Kansas City Chiefs, it's the Kansas City Rashee Rices. How toast would they be without this guy right now? Mahomes is like an average quarterback at the moment, statistically, throwing picks, horrible picks. You know, it's not looking good for Kansas City. Travis Kelce, who knows what's happened to him. But like, how do you not want to play?
They're resting him. That's what they're doing.
I don't know. It could be. We'll see. We'll see how. Yeah, by the end of come playoffs, the Chiefs will be a different team. We all know that. But for the regular season, it's the Rashee Rice show. How do you not want to play Nico Collins, the man beater, against Jacksonville this week? How do you not want to do that? How do you not want to play Chris Godwin? You know, I start drawing the line, especially if Debo comes in at the Brandon Ayuk ownership. I think I'd rather play. I'm just looking down. I might rather play Terry McLaurin over Brandon Ayuk straight up, even with Ayuk, you know, on fantasy points. If I was looking at that from an ownership perspective. So I like these guys at the top. What are your builds like looking like Bobby because I'm finding myself I'm having to forego the more expensive wide receivers. I want to play, Justin Jefferson at low ownership, but at 8,700 on DraftKings. That is a very, if I'm on the Saquon Barkleys, the Kamaras, these expensive running backs, it's a very difficult for me to find them in my lineup. I think Chase, Marvin Harrison, Rice, these are the guys I want to play. And then I'm finding myself in that Deontay Johnson tier for maybe one, if not two, or lower for my wide receivers. So I love Deontay Johnson. But like if Olave's out, where does Shaheed's ownership end up? Where does I'm just trying to think of some guys that might be able to compete with Deontay Johnson. I'm probably going to need like this Jacoby Myers turn into a target hog instead of the cheap Trey Tucker.
Yeah, I think that's the play.
Like that, like it's so hard. So would you rather play a chalky Deontay Johnson, who I think across the board we're all going to love? The projections love him. Everyone's going to love him this week. I expect him to have a good game, right? I think we can all say that. Would you rather have him in your lineup and try to swerve around his price point, or are you trying to do something different? Because that's a big starting point for a lot of the lineups I'm coming into. So I'm going to ask Bobby. I'll throw that to Bobby first.
I think Deontay Johnson's likely a good chalk, and I'm going to be over the field. But Pickens is in that range, like we talked about, at 5'7". Christian Kirk's at 5'2". I think these guys are very interesting and guys I want to get to. Jaden Reed would probably be at 6K, my favorite tournament receiver on the slate. They're gonna bring the blitz, Minnesota, and Jaden Reed can beat the blitz and help Jordan Love beat the blitz. If he's on a bad ankle, he's gonna be wanting to get the ball out quick. Like I can't see why you wouldn't want to be over on Jaden Reed this week, especially from a tournament perspective. And then there's run backs there. And not necessarily saying I want to play Jordan Love. I don't think I do. But Aaron Jones, I think, is, like we talked about the revenge narrative already. If Jair were to sit, I think Justin Jefferson immediately comes into play for me a lot more than I have him now. And he would be a guy that I would kind of prioritize on the high end. So that's kind of how I'm looking about building. The cash game wide receivers that I think are definitely guys that are in play for a lot of people: Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Trey Tucker down on the low end. We talked about Deontay. Like I said, I think Deontay is good chalk. Rashee Rice at 7,300. You could throw Godwin in there at 68 and Chase at 7,700. Those are like the main guys, and that's another reason why McLaurin and there's a lot of guys, and that's another reason why McLaurin and Marvin Harrison Jr. are getting squeezed a little bit. So, yeah. T. Higgins is also 5'9" in that Deontay Johnson range as well. And I like Burrow, so I feel like I'm gonna probably get in some T. Higgins, and when I make a bunch of teams and stuff, Higgins will be making my pool. But I think Deontay Johnson is just a good play. Like I just think you play you get away from other stuff.
All right, so here are your Pro Football Focus wide receiver cornerback matchup advantages. At the top of the list is Keenan Allen. Nico Collins is there. We were hit on that. Chris Olave, if he goes, Godwin, and then Jaden Reed. I think Jaden Reed is an awesome play. So I'm kind of building our lineup as we go here. I'm gonna stick. I think we do like a mini correlation with Aaron Jones and Reed.
I want to ask Bobby real quick, just so the viewers know, if Jordan Love is out, are you still as high on Jordan Reed this week?
No, I'm definitely not as high on Jaden Reed. And we just talked about a bunch of other guys that you could play in that range. But like I said, Deontay Johnson, like Brit said as well, is an easy click. Like, I would just play him. I don't see any reason in not playing him.
Yep. All right. Who else? I mean, there's so many guys. So you guys gave your Marvin Harrison Jr. talk. I like that. That's interesting to see Keenan Allen as the top matchup advantage. I mean,
do we trust Shane Waldron? I know they're going to throw it 50 plus times, but like, it just seems like schematically their offense is all over the place. I think they have issues on the offensive line. I don't know. Like, I wanted to talk up Caleb. He's not going to be owned, and he's going to pass a ton. It's just a matter of like,
he's just not running either.
I don't know what to make of them, and we haven't seen them really, other than like for 15 plays with DJ Moore, Odunze, and Keenan Allen all in the field together, right?
Yeah. So I've got, you had PFF. I brought up the fantasy points data suite. Here's a couple. I've got coverage grade matchups from them. Jamar Chase tops the list. Drake London's pretty high for a wide receiver. Michael Pittman, but that's going to be a hard pass. Some of the Carolina wide receivers, Mingo is popping up on there. A lot of guys you don't probably want to use, more secondary plays. But if Chase is popping up on, I trust their data basically more than I think on anybody.
I use them too.
Anyone, yeah.
Yeah, so PFF fantasy points and the RotoGrinder stuff. That's literally all I look at. If Chase is popping off, and it's not just like he's the highest. It's like he's the highest I've ever seen in terms of like separation from the second guy. That looks like a really nice matchup where his ownership is coming in. I mean, that just further solidifies.
Can you just read what it is for Chase that you're looking at? Because I'm looking at it too, and I just want you.
So his expected fantasy points per route are approaching 1, so like 0.89. His coverage grade is just so high, and that factors in a lot of. Can't tell you. I did the show with them last year. There's a lot of really smart people over there. And I trust the stuff that they're putting.
His coverage grade is 20 points higher than anyone else's on the slate. Chase is a very good play this week.
Yeah, usually don't.
And there are people that will say that this stuff doesn't matter. Although coming from like a baseball DFS background, like this, I think this stuff matters. There's always like little edges you can glean, and I think this stuff definitely matters if you apply it correctly. Drake London's another guy we didn't talk about who grades out well here.
Yeah, where's Chase? I'm looking at the projected ownership. Oh, that's on FanDuel. FanDuel still counts. I know you guys generally talk DraftKings for the most part.
DraftKings,
yeah. I don't see Chase is approaching 10%, so like the 8th or 9th.
Yeah.
Something 10%. Around there. Yeah, he looks like someone like to me, I'm looking at a team. I'm definitely going to make a team that's Andy Dalton, Deontay Johnson, Jamar Chase. If I have to go to a cheap receiver, I might throw, if I'm playing, Dalton's not going to get in there with his legs. I would either play Hubbard or maybe a Mingo or Leggett or a Tremble or something in that one and hope one of them get in the end zone. That's definitely going to be one of my tournament teams this week.
I agree with Brit. I think that's a really good starting point.
I think I got our lineup almost filled up, but you guys are going to hate running back. All right. Any other final plays to talk? I mean, we just hit on a ton of them. I think you want to keep. There's so many good wide receiver plays here. I think you want to be in like the ownership isn't gonna kill you on any of these guys.
That's pretty much it.
All right, let's move it on over to tight end. I got one more ad read I got to do, so let's pump that out. RG Combo Light Plug. Introducing Combo Light, our newest product, gives you the power of simulation for a fraction of the price of other tools. Competitors charge hundreds a month for their Sims product, but not us. Combo Light is just $39.99. It includes our SimLabs lineup building tool, plus contact with some of your favorite DFS analysts. Combo Light doesn't limit you to one sport either, so you're going to get a variety of sports there. It includes SimLabs access to the 4 most popular sports: MLB, NFL, NBA, and PGA. You won't find a more cost-effective option anywhere. So, as Bobby once said, trust the Sims. Trust the Sims. All right, tight end. Let's move this along quickly. The tight end, obviously, we already talked about Higgins is going to be mega chalk. He is a third-round pick, former wide receiver. So it wouldn't shock me for him to go off in this spot without McBride. He's only 3,100. Brock Bowers is leading like in every category for tight ends. You have to like him on the higher upside. Goddard, if AJ Brown is out, then you've got some pivots off of the chalky Higgins would be guys like Brenton Strange, Mike Gesicki, Tommy Tremble, Tucker Kraft. I mean, it's gross talking guys like that, but Kittle back this week. Bobby, who's your favorite tight end? How are you going to play this? I know you want to be under-owned on Elijah Higgins, right?
Yeah, I could end up beating my words too, but definitely Brock Bowers. Like you're just taking away Adams. So much usage there. I think he might be slight leverage off of the receivers. Trey Tucker is going to be chalky, but Bowers is just can do everything. So I like Bowers a good bit. Goddard, I think he's a really good play. He's a better play if AJ Brown sits, obviously. Mike Gesicki is another guy that's standing out in the fantasy points data suite from Cincinnati. He's at 3,500, like him a good bit. Dalton Schultz at 4,100. Like I said, I think Diggs kicks outside. I don't think he's going to be in the slot tomorrow. I think they're going to rotate those three, Hutchinson, Woods, and Mechie in the slot. And I think Schultz is just going to be like the sure-handed guy there as well. And I think this could be a Schultz game with Stroud. So like Schultz a good bit. You can make a case for Kittle at 5,500 to be utilized in the passing game a little bit more. And he would be a pivot off of, like, if you're doing the Purdy stacks, like Britt said at the top of the show, like you could use Kittle. And he's an interesting pivot off a guy like Mason, if Mason's going to be as chalky as we think he's going to be. Taysom Hill down at 3,800. Depending on how banged up Kamara is, maybe he works in the backfield. I will throw caution to the wind with the Saints. Like, they're out. Eric McCoy, their center, 6 to 8 weeks, and right guard Cesar Ruiz, he's out multiple weeks as well. So they're banged up on the front line. I do think Taysom allows them to run that like Clint Kubiak motion that kind of tells them what if the defense is in man or if it's in zone. It allows them to do more, right? But yeah, I don't know. Colby Parkinson at 3,700 makes sense as well. Tight end's weak. You definitely play Brenton Strange too. I just my if I had to give like 3 favorites, I know I've named a bunch. It'd be Bowers, Gesicki, and Goddard.
If AJ Brown's out, how high does Dallas Goedert's ownership? What's his RotoGrinders projected ownership? What does that go up to if AJ Brown's out?
I don't know how high it goes up. It's definitely going to increase, but with Higgins there and the fact that he seems to be like the industry darling for value this week, I just think that it's going to be tough for him. Like it might knock him a bit, but I don't see Goddard eclipsing him is what I'm trying to say.
And you think Higgins is going to be the clear play everyone lands on for their cheap tight end?
For their cheap tight end, just because.
Yeah, and everybody loves a cheap tight end.
Yeah, everyone
in that game, I get it. All right.
Yeah, I mean, is
Higgins good? Like, do we know if Higgins good? I've seen.
Former wide receiver, 3rd round pick. He's supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah, he's supposed to be pretty good.
From Cincy, I think it was. I mean, how much faith do they have in him right off the bat? I don't know. You never know. It's a tricky situation.
He does lean on the tight end so much.
Is anyone playing? I saw on Scores and Odds, I think it was Charlie's on Travis Kelce touchdowns this week. Anyone want to play that guy at all?
Yeah, they can get him in the end zone. He still has to hit a ceiling, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I think it's Rashee. How many weeks of Rashee Rice not having a big game? And Travis, I would need like 3 weeks of Rashee Rice not being the focal point to play Travis Kelce.
Yeah. What about Kittle?
I would absolutely play Kittle.
I said Kittle. I think Kittle's interesting. If Mason's really showing 30% ownership, like Kittle's like an easy. The one thing I will say is the Patriots have been very good against opposing tight ends with Kyle Duggar. If he for whatever reason, like people keep trying to attack him, and like I don't know, the DFS industry does, but from the eye test, like he's all over these guys. So I don't know if it's like really the greatest place to go.
I think I would have a very concentrated tight end core. I know they all stink, but I think this is a week where you can concentrate into one of Goddard or Bowers, right? We know they're good players in good spots who are going to have elevated volume this week, right? So we have them on the high end. You have Strange and Higgins will be chalky, but I still think maybe that's a reasonable play. If I don't know, trying to say what I'm trying to think here. I can't come up with the words on it, but I think those are fine, and I think I would just try maybe Parkinson. The Rams. I wish they didn't juice up the wide receivers on Robinson and Tutu, because I put Tutu on scores and odds as a bet, because they abandoned the 3 wide receivers and they went more for like the first time in Rams history in recent memory. Just played 2 wide receivers a lot of the game. So that Parkinson was on the field quite a bit. Don't know at 3.7 if I would go with him. I would probably just play one of those top guys. I like Strange or Higgins.
I'm going to give one last flyer on Tyler Conklin. Aaron Rodgers with his tight ends, coming off of a big game anyway. Denver doesn't rank very well against tight end coverage.
Yeah, I think Denver gives it up to the tight ends. That's what
I'm going to back up Bobby's Dalton Schultz in tournaments if everyone's going to be playing Diggs and Nico, rightly so, I believe. But Schultz seems like a very, very nice tournament play from Bobby.
All right, let's move it on over to defense. Bobby, any plays you like, or is this just play anyone who fits type of week?
Yeah. Maybe the Rams. I just don't believe. I don't believe in. Is the Rams showing as chalk?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me go somewhere else.
Rams current projected highest owned.
Interesting. So I got to update, but yeah, I don't know.
In that range, there's Cardinals.
I mean, there's the very obvious, easiest, best defense in the league without question so far this year. Nobody played the Vikings last week.
I played them. I put them in our.
Why do we not want to do that again? Why do we not want to do that? Flores, every quarterback is like, oh my goodness, what are you even doing?
They're gonna be bringing the pressure.
I don't want to play him because I want to play Reed as much as possible. They're going to be bringing the blitz, and he's going to beat the blitz. So that's why I'm not. That's why.
What about Falcons? What about Falcons with all these problems? With Derek Carr, and then all these problems with.
I like the Falcons call. Let's land on the Falcons at 2-6.
All right, now let's cap off the show. I know we're running a little bit late with building a lineup. I've built one based on all of our plays where we've kind of been steered. So tell me if you guys like this. This is the one I'm going to enter. It's only play you guys are going to object is going to be a tight end, I think. But Justin Fields to George Pickens, run it back with Deontay John, or no, run it back with no run back, right? Just strictly Fields Pickens.
I think you could do Pierce. I think you could do Pierce. Just saying. I think you could do Alec.
Are you okay with it without a run back though?
Yeah, I'm fine with it without a running back. Yeah.
Okay. Then running back position, we've got Aaron Jones, and we paired him with Jaden Reed. You guys are both high on them for a little mini correlation. Then we've got Jamar Chase and Deontay Johnson. We're doing only 2 running backs on a week when everyone's doing 3. And the second running back is Bijan. So we got Jones and Bijan, and then we've got the Falcons D. So you get the little Bijan Falcons D correlation, and then you got Higgins. The chalk fits beautifully, but that's the listener league lineup. Any objections?
I like it.
Brett,
sounds good. I'm not
good enough.
Yeah, I don't know if I love Bijan, but
I don't know what to do with Bijan either. Like that's the one.
I'm sure we.
So we could go Kieran. We could go.
I would rather straight up play Kyron Williams without question.
We could do that, or we could go up at tight end and then go down and put like Chuba and go up at tight end.
I think Higgins is fine in like 100-man field. I think that's perfectly fine.
I'm gonna give you one last option here. It would be Kyle Pitts. No, all right. I think we're good.
I'm not anti-Bijan. I guess he's, to me, I feel like Bijan in the landscape of the running backs I want to use as it stands right now is probably the least of the high-priced running backs that I want to click on, if that makes sense.
I'm in the same boat with Brit, and I don't know what to do with him in terms of like building out my script because it's showing that I should be playing him. And I'm just like, I feel like it's chasey. Like if you expect Bijan to do what Saquon did.
Atlanta's down some offensive line. That game is going to be a run fest, if you ask me, and a quick game. I don't know who's, I still would take the Saints. I like the Saints as a bet, but that was before Olave. Both offensive lines banged up in that one.
Yeah. Is Brees or Kyron? Do you have a preference, Britt?
I mean, obviously Brees.
Well, we can only pick Kyron, so
yeah, I would. I love Kyron.
Yeah, I love Kyron.
All right, that works with me. So that's our lineup. All right, that's a wrap for the show. I think we went over everything. We talked previews, we talked stacks, everything. So, Britt, thank you for joining us, for helping us out. I know you're on another show today for baseball. Is that correct?
Yeah, is that over? No, I think there's. What do we got? A couple more games of that. Yeah, I'll be back on crunch time. And
Bobby, always a pleasure, my man. Love the new do. Love the new do. Let's get it this week. Check out Bobby's show on Sunday morning at RotoGrinders right off the bat. He'll give you his final takes. I know Bobby and I will be texting throughout the day about who we like when we actually start building. But thank you. Always a pleasure. So this has been the RG DFS Tournament Takes podcast week 4. We will see you back next week for week 5. Thank you.